Lee Carsley has done what I suspected he might, and that is play Jarrod Bowen as a striker again. I suspected it wouldn't quite be a one-off when we saw it against Ireland, and now I think Jarrod Bowen finds himself in a situation where he could well be Harry Kane's understudy. Now look, you're never going to get the top job for England. You're just not. It's can you be there and can you take advantage if for whatever reason Harry Kane is not available. But even just being Harry Kane's understudy is a decent thing. We'll discuss that a little bit later in the video if you don't mind. But I would like to have a little chat about England because you always get this when you're doing the YouTube stuff. Be careful, don't get carried away, all that sort of thing. And I get it, but also by its nature, as YouTube, we're all there to have a little chat about what we've just seen. And I watched the Ireland game. So it was the Nations League. England had been dropped down to sort of like the second tier of the Nations League because we were bloody awful last season, weren't we? And I think it's possibly helped, really, and what it's helped Lee Carsley, who seems to be on this sort of weird probationary period with England where he's got 6 games to prove his worth, it's sort of weird, isn't it, for a caretaker, because normally you're just sort of there and not for any sort of allotted time. It's normally you're there to hold fort. You're there to here for one game maybe until the next guy comes in. But he has these 6 games, which I guess, 2 of them are already gone. And I've been quietly impressed with what I've seen so far. I often got the impression with Southgate, and if you watched, there could only be a couple of you, basically, but if you watched during the Euros at this channel, we did some England games, and I always used to speak about the top managers, and the top managers seem to be able to coach patterns of play. They have these... They place players positionally in just in the correct positions. They have these... It's like a playbook, like you might find like an NFL playbook, where they have these little moments, these movements. It might be a 1-2, it might be some triangles, it might be a passage of play that leads to another sequence. And I just never felt that Gareth Southgate ever had that. I just thought Southgate was the type of person that just put the players out there and had really good players, great players, and he needs to be rescued by individuals, basically. When you've seen a really good team play against you because you just feel you've been tactically outdone. And I think he relied on individual brilliance, but paradoxically, I don't feel that he knew how to get the best out of all of his brilliant players. So Bellingham could rescue him, but he didn't really know what to do with him, for instance. Even Harry Kane, I don't think he really knew what to do with him. And you could go through the whole squad and say that about so many players. And I know it's only Finland, and I know it's only Ireland, but what you've got to remember is, England, when England are bad, we play really poorly against those teams. And we're sort of unconvincing. I think the way that he deployed Trent Alexander-Arnold was just brilliant. It's weird. It's like Gareth Southgate had never seen Trent play for Liverpool, but Lee Carsley has. And that was clear. Mainu didn't play in this game. He started the game against Ireland, didn't play in this game. And quite rightly so. He came out of the European Championships with a lot of credit because I didn't think England were pretty good. He was one of the bright sparks, wasn't he? So I think you've got to grasp the nettle. I think you've got to be quite brave with your selections. And I think it was quite brave, even in this game, for Carsley to say, do you know what? I am actually going to go with Angel Gomez here. Now, look, maybe Mainu picked up a knock or something. I don't know. I wasn't particularly reading the stuff in the build-up to it. But I thought Angel Gomez looked better when he came on as a substitute against Ireland. I was very, very impressed. I know it's a bit of a... it's sort of tin hat on time, and I can bring a lot of criticism upon myself for saying this, but Jack Wilshere was not good at West Ham, right? He was a waste of money, and he cost the club an awful lot of money. But players like Jack Wilshere, I can watch him play football all day. I love the way these players with a low centre of gravity can sort of manipulate the ball. They have a spatial awareness. They can. They just play give and go. They lend someone else the ball, and they're moving to space, and they receive it back. Very comfortable on the ball, and just play with their head up, and very, very aware. And I always used to think that about Wilshere, even before he joined West Ham. This Gomez is like that. This Gomez is just a footballer, a baller, as a pure baller, as they might call him. I really like him, and I think Carsley's going to have a very, very interesting prospect on his hands, and a really nice problem when Bellingham, Foden, and Palmer come back. But, really, really good problems to have. But Gomez, I'd be playing him again. I'm not saying Gomez has got the shirt, forever, but I think it's just really, really good. Really, really good player. The other problem position at the moment seems to be left back. I think by playing Lewis over there, he looked far better than Kieran Trippier did at any point. Obviously, doesn't play there for Manchester City, and his starting position is at right back more or less for Manchester City, isn't it? But he drifts all over the place. He's a crafty player. He plays in the sort of way that Pep likes his fullbacks to play, doesn't he? But there was a fluidity to the way Carsley had allowed England to play, and yeah, I understand that there were points because we had 80% possession that you're going to be able to do that against Finland. But as I say, just go back the amount of teams that we've struggled against when we've had the lion's share of possession. It just felt that Carsley knew how to get England's fullbacks, both of them, into positions that could cause the opposition real harm. And again, it's not anything that I ever thought Southgate would be able to do. So obvious to pick Gordon, to give that little bit of pace. If you're going to play Harry Kane, and so you should, he's bloody brilliant, right? Then you're going to need some pace around him. And I think Gordon really brings that. But you looked at the replacements on the wings, of which I'll bring it back to Bowen now. But you looked at replacements on the wings, and you think, wow, England have got an embarrassment of riches. And I actually thought Grealish played reasonably well as well. And, I don't know what he's going to do. It's going to be really interesting to see what Carsley does. I suspect he drops Grealish and he'll play Bellingham there. I just suspect he will. I think Gomez keeps things ticking over in midfield in a way that possibly Bellingham doesn't, so he just might deploy Bellingham sort of further forward, which means what's he going to do with Foden? I don't know, but then you've got, as I say, you've got Palmer, you've got Saka there, you've got some really, really great players. Gahey again, he just continues to impress, doesn't he? He's incredible, really, and you can understand why Newcastle wanted to buy him. His value ain't going down though, that's for bloody sure. So I think just looking at England, I think really, really positive. So which sort of brings us to Bowen. So who do you bring on? Madueke and Abire Eze on the wings. So once again, made 2 wing substitutions, and Bowen wasn't there. No, it was a surprise. Obviously, with 2 separate substitutions, different players against. He brought Eze on, but different substitutions were made against Ireland. And he left Saka on the pitch for that. But I was surprised to see Bowen come on as a striker. Obviously, I wasn't surprised this time, so we've been doing videos about it on this channel. I thought, okay, this is happening. I was looking for him warming up. I saw Bowen warming up, but there were 5 or 6 of them that were warming up. Of course, then Kane's number came up. Bowen was there. Thought he was going to do it again. He did do it again. Nothing happened. He went on. He basically had one good run, and then he had a little run down the end, near the end of the game, where he actually found himself, ironically enough, on the right wing. Nothing happened. It doesn't overly matter. It's not important. Callum Wilson, we discussed, has gone. I can't imagine him getting selected for England again. And, of course, Ivan Toney just won't get selected because he's gone to Saudi. That's 2 players have gone. And I was looking at the competition for places in England's wide areas. It's hard, isn't it? And I found myself thinking about it, and I thought, well, maybe, just maybe, it's possibly easier for Bowen to try and... It's going to be very hard for him to become a first-team starter, right? So what can Bowen do? Make sure he's on the bench all the time. So how's he getting the squads? I think it might be easier as a striker than a winger. Embarrassment of riches out wide. And I think that flexibility is going to allow him to be in there. And as I say, to be an understudy to Harry Kane is still a really, really important job. I do think it's given Lopetegui a little bit of a tap-in, though. So basically, Lee Carsley has set up Lopetegui for the tap-in. Fullkrug is out. I think we can safely say that. But at least, I was going to say at least until October. Fullkrug's out. Let's deal with Fulham. Fullkrug's out for the Fulham game. Myself and Gia will be doing a Fulham preview later on, by the way, and then later on today I'll be uploading again on this channel with a little mischievous question from Rob, who's asked a very funny question, I think about Lopetegui. So we'll deal with that later on, but I'll upload that later on. I don't know, 6 o'clock this evening or something like that. But you, as I say, you look at the team and you look at the situation that West Ham are in ahead of the Fulham game. By the time you watch this now, I guess Jamaica would have played Honduras, so we'll know what the situation is with Mikel Antonio. But even if he's not injured, okay, so he's going to. That game finishes at, I think it's about 6 in the morning, like today. 6. By the time you watch this, the match ain't finished. If I upload this 8 o'clock in the morning, Wednesday morning, the match has finished 2 hours ago. In Honduras, he's got to get back. He ain't ready. He ain't ready to play at the weekends. There's no doubt about it. And he used to struggle anyway. So what's he going to do? What's Lopetegui going to do? Play Danny Ings? I wouldn't think so. Play a knackered Antonio? I wouldn't think so. He can't play Fullkrug. I think it's just there. I think it's set up for him. And I think the only thing I would say with all of them, be it Bowen and be it Kudus, if Bowen plays up front, Kudus gets on the right, they can almost both help each other out, because Bowen can score goals and make himself undroppable. And if Kudus plays so much better than he has done on the left, he can not only make himself undroppable, but also force Lopetegui to continue playing Bowen as a striker, if that makes sense. Because if they don't, there's so much competition for places. Then someone else just comes, Fullkrug gets better, he takes your place. Mikel Antonio, in a week's time is not jet lagged and he's ready to play. So yeah, just really, really interesting. Anyway, I just thought it was fascinating watching that England game. Bowen did nothing really. He didn't do anything in terms of his skill level or his impact on the game that screamed out plays him as a striker. But we know he can. That's the point. We know he can play a striker. Carsley fancies him a striker. Lopetegui knows he can play a striker. It's funny, I mean, I hate the international breaks, I really do. But it's given us, inadvertently, I think it's given us a little helping hand. I think it's given us a little leg up here, really. Anyway, it's going to be interesting now. I guess it's just wait and see. Anyway, myself and Gia will be back later on today. Fulham preview. There's actually quite a lot going on. Bearing in mind it's international break, we've got quite a lot going on. Hopefully you've heard our patron news, which is Harry Redknapp is signed up for Hammers Chat Patron. So that's great. He's going to be doing a podcast with basically questions from you guys, from our patrons. So we're absolutely delighted to have him. It's a really big deal. Really, really big deal. We've been doing a Hammers Chat now for a long time. And I said to Gio on the phone, I said, this feels like one of the big pivotal moments. Absolutely love Harry. So, that's absolutely brilliant news. If you want to get involved on Hammers Chat, the link's in the description below on Patreon. Then patreon.com/Hammers Chat. There's a 7-day free trial. If you sign up for a year, you get a bit of a discount. There's loads and loads of stuff going on. Loads of podcasts, loads of stuff going on. Speaking of which, I need to get off now, because I have got to go to bed and then get up in the morning, and then I am actually filming a podcast for Patreon with Gio.